So I thought this was just an interesting article that popped up on my feed by Catherine Lewis over at Games Radar. And it's a discussion of the gaming industry that happened with developer Obe. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but Obe Vermege, maybe. And basically, this is a former Rockstar dev that talked about the development process, talked about what GTA 6 is likely going to bring to the table and what to expect and all this stuff. And the headline is, of course, GTA 6 won't be wildly different from GTA 5. I think maybe people might be a little disappointed on the first day, but it's still going to be the best game out there. And this reflects a sentiment that I think is important to just keep in mind. One of the reasons why a lot of people didn't want Red Dead Redemption 2 to win Game of the Year was because they didn't feel like it was a big enough leap forward. They felt like it was really derivative, really iterative over the previous games. Like Red Dead 2 played pretty much the same as Red Dead 1, just with some dials cranked here and there. But it still basically played the same as those other games with some more stuff added. Same with like GTA 5 over GTA 4. Like they're games that take what they did before that were already like Game of the Year 10 out of 10 masterpieces. And then they add a little bit here. They crank a bunch of the dials for graphics, fidelity, like dynamics, all sorts of stuff. And then they release that. And it's very, very reminiscent of what you've already played, but it's not totally different. Specifically, this was an interview with YouTuber Sonin Play. And what he says is, quote, "I don't think it's going to be wildly different from GTA 5. I think maybe people might be a little disappointed on the first day, but it's still going to be the best game out there." And he says he doesn't have any like insider information or anything like that to go off of, but he's spent 14 years as technical director, played a large role in the programming of GTA 3 and 4, as well as Vice City and San Andreas. He left Rockstar back in 2009, but prior to that, he was very, very involved in the franchise. And I think he just understands how Rockstar works. But it got me thinking about how all of this actually plays out, which is that I think GTA 6 will come out. People will be like, the mission design is the same as GTA 5. And it's still good, but I was just hoping for something a little more crazy or novel or something. And I just don't think that we're going to get that. But that's the magic of freaking Rockstar, dude. They will come out and they will release a game that is basically what they've done before, just incrementally better. And it will still be the best game you've ever played. You know, like that's a testament to how good their games were like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or a decade ago. You know, the fact that just taking a little bit incremental improvement and cranking all these knobs and it's still probably the best game you've ever played. It's pretty wildly impressive, but that's just how a lot of this stuff works with these guys or with these Rockstar games, is they're just incremental improvements. My expectation for GTA 6 is that it's going to be the most hyped game of all time. Like it's not even really that scandalous a thing to say. I really do think it's just going to be a freaking, it's going to be on another level. Like it really will be. And I don't know how they managed to live up to that hype, but they've managed to do it every other time that they've released a game. So I don't think this will magically change. Now, you know, Rockstar's proven that they know what they're doing. If anybody can be trusted to live up to the hype, it's probably them. And the attention to detail, the quality of assets, the animal systems now, the NPC systems, all of that is going to be just cranked out the ass. And I'm sure it's going to be one of the most impressive games we've ever played, even though it will feel very similar to GTA 5. And yet it will still be probably the best game you've ever played, even though it's very, very similar to those. What I think is perhaps a more interesting question, though, and here's a question. I'm going to put this in chat. Let's do an actual straw poll. I want to know, do you think GTA 6 still takes Game of the Year? Because everybody thought Red Dead 2, it was going to be a slam dunk for them to get Game of the Year with Red Dead Redemption 2, but they didn't, obviously. They won a bunch of Game of the Year awards, but God of War 2018 ended up taking it. My thought is just that I think everybody expects it to be a masterpiece, and it's going to come out and be a masterpiece, and people are going to be like, okay, cool, great, anyway. And I think people are just going to be like, okay, that was cool. Because we're going to get some other big games next year. I mean, we're looking at getting like most likely Ghost of Tsushima 2, for example, next year. I think that comes out swinging pretty good. I think that'll do. And there's also like a bunch of other huge games. Let me just look up 2025 game releases. Civ 7, Death Stranding 2 is scheduled for next year. Fable is scheduled for next year. Of course, GTA 6. Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Marvel 1943. I kind of forgot this was supposed to come out next year. That's that crazy, beautiful game, the Unreal Engine 5 one. Monster Hunter Wilds. How could I forget about that? Monster Hunter Wilds is coming next year. That game is like, you'd expect that that's just gonna waltz up to the Game of the Year contention. Same with like Metroid Prime 4. That one probably pops off. We've got any of these other, South of Midnight, I think probably it lands in like the 8.5 to 9 range. That'll be my guess, just based on what I've seen so far. But Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Like there's some big games, and there's also a lot of games that have not been announced yet that I will just say might blow your mind a little bit. So I think there's going to be some competition here. Silksong, exactly. Doom, Dark Ages, yeah. I think that list was made before the full Xbox showcase, but anyway, like there's a lot of huge games coming out, and I think that there's going to be a little bit of competition, honestly. I think so. If I had to guess, if I had to put one of these, do I think they take Game of the Year? I'm going to say yes, even still, but I think it's going to be closer than we might think. And I mean, just look at the split based on you guys. Like pretty well split. 42% of you guys are saying no, it doesn't take Game of the Year, something else will. Because here's the deal. A game that people expect to be a masterpiece, that ends up being a masterpiece, meets that expectation and is well received. People are really excited about it. But what I think garners even more laudations is a game people didn't see coming or didn't expect to be a giga masterpiece that takes the world by storm. Last year with like Baldur's Gate 3, I think that was an example of a game that people who knew about it were like, yeah, it's probably going to be really good. But I think that the fact it came out of nowhere really blew people away. Maybe the closest comparison to bring is like last year, the GTA 6 of last year was like Tears of the Kingdom. Everybody was like, yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be phenomenal. But then Baldur's Gate 3 came out for a lot of people out of nowhere and blew everybody away. And they were like, how the hell did I not hear about this? Game's amazing. This is great. And it popped off. And we still had other amazing games like, you know, Alan Wake 2 or Resi 4. But I really think that the surprise factor and the excitement that comes with it is something to consider. And I think because everybody expects GTA 6 to be that 10 out of 10 masterpiece, I think it actually goes into the Game of the Year with like a disadvantage, because if something else comes along and really excites people and surprises them, like a Ghost of Tsushima 2 or a surprise announcement from Sony for something else, I do think that stands a pretty solid chance of overtaking it and winning, just like God of War did back in 2018. Now, for me personally, in hindsight, I do wish I'd given Red Dead 2 my Game of the Year award, because looking back on it, yeah, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 has held up better. I think it's just a more impressive game overall. But I thought that the risks involved with reinventing an entire franchise into this third-person adventure, heavily narrative game, I thought that deserved a reward, which I think a lot of other people did as well back in 2018. So we'll see how the cookie crumbles next year. But I don't think it's as much of a slam dunk that GTA 6 takes Game of the Year as other people might expect. It's going to be interesting. But what we do know is next year is going to be crazy. It's going to be sheer madness. I mean, just the hype around like GTA 6 is going to be so toxic. I can't even tell you. Like with Starfield, which comparatively is not even that like huge of a cultural phenomenon. Like Starfield, it was a big game and people were excited for it. But Starfield was nowhere near the level of what like Rockstar does, right? And I had people trying to hack into my server to get access to my recorded gameplay footage of Starfield before the review embargo dropped. Like, people were that crazy about it. So just imagine what happens with GTA 6. Just imagine. Like, it's going to be so wild. I just don't think people are ready. Yeah, I agree. Unironically, Lucas, I agree. Internet providers and stuff have to prepare their infrastructure for the launch day of GTA 6. I think what they got to do, but they're probably not going to do, they will need to do like a preloading thing that'll give a good amount of time. Give people like 3-4 days to preload it so that the downloads don't just break the internet on launch day when it drops. But I don't think they'll do that because they're worried about data miners and hackers and stuff like that. And on the flip side, I don't think they're sending review codes or anything to anybody outside of like the core gaming media. I don't think they send it to YouTubers. I don't think they send it to streamers. And I wouldn't blame them. Like, YouTubers and streamers leak stuff seemingly all the time. It's crazy, but they do. And I don't blame them for not wanting to share codes with them. So I think they're going to send it to like IGN, GameSpot. That's going to be it. But it doesn't really matter because we all kind of know the game's probably going to be amazing. So there's that. I hope the game doesn't have bad DRM. Well, it's not coming to PC day one. So there's that. That's going to help them with the launch troubles as well. Just the fact they only have to worry about console stuff, and PlayStation and Xbox have a pretty good hold on that stuff. So I think that'll help. But I totally agree, Lucas. I think they got to have something prepared just in terms of infrastructure, because let's be honest, the game's going to be like 200 gigs, maybe more. It's going to be huge. And if they drop it on launch day, like at midnight, and then they make it available for download, all of like every internet service provider in the country and in the world is going to start having major problems because there's going to be so many people trying to download it all at the same time. It's true, Rockstar already had those leaks, but my understanding was the Rockstar leaks, like there were a couple, but one of them was like, you know, where the trailer dropped and leaked before, like it went public. That was apparently like the son of one of the devs that like just saw his dad's computer and went and took footage and stuff on it. Imagine how, like, as a parent, I don't even know where you begin with that. Like, where do you start with the grounding? Like, son, you knocked out $5 billion in market value. You're grounded forever. Like, you don't get to go to college. Like, what do you even do? Like, I don't know. It's so far beyond what a normal kid would do. It's like, what do you, sell the son? I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's so far beyond what would be reasonable to see somebody, do. Take his Tesla away. Yeah, I don't even know. I would love to know what happened there. But anyway, so that was one of them. The other guy that hacked in and stole a bunch of like development footage and stuff, he ended up, I think he's in a mental institution indefinitely in the UK. I believe that's where the story went. Like, he told the judge, oh, once I get out, I'm doing it again for sure. Like, he just openly told the judge that. And so they were like, okay, well, you can't threaten everybody. You can't threaten the court. So we can't do that. And so they sent him to like a mental ward, and he's just staying in there until he is like safe again. Yeah, didn't he hack through an Amazon Fire Stick on Slack? Yeah, like the dude is unironically brilliant. Yeah, I think the description was that he actually was like a pretty high functioning autistic individual who just was like a super genius when it came to this stuff. And that's what made him so dangerous, is that he's a super genius with it. And he just did not care. He was like, yeah, I thought it was funny to hack in and leak all this stuff. So he just did it. And he did it with like a Fire Stick in a hotel room. Like, that's unbelievable. That's like some cringy Disney Channel BS, where in that like a Disney Channel TV show, everybody be like, okay, it's a children's show, so it's not that accurate. So clearly that's impossible, but whatever. But for him, it was real. Like, he actually did it. Yeah, he said he'd do it again. Yeah, it's just weird. Like, but that's the thing, is there's people like that out there in the world who are so brilliant, and then they just, like, if that kid wanted to use those skills and work for some of these cybersecurity firms that are paid to try and break into like big corporate servers and stuff. They basically, what they do is they hold bounties where they'll say, okay, if you can break into Netflix's servers, you get a $1 million bounty if you explain to us how you did it and show us how we could fix it. Yeah, kind of like the ethical hackers or whatever they call them. And he could work in that and make ridiculous amounts of money because clearly he's extremely talented. But instead, he went this route, and it's just a waste of talent. It really is. It's too bad. But that happened. So obviously, you know, they've got to step up security, but apparently part of the reason that was so doable was because of the work from home stuff. And it's the same thing that happened with allegedly with the Naughty Dog hacks around The Last of Us Part 2, when all that gameplay footage and stuff leaked. A lot of that was done, or all of that was done by a fan of their games who was able to hack in through exploits that were, some people believe, created while they were doing the work from home stuff, where they had to all of a sudden find ways to access company servers remotely, and then somebody found an access point and was able to get in that way. Bro did us a solid and dipped. I don't even know what the solid was though. Like, he dropped all that stuff and it was work in progress footage. That's like interesting to see, just because I find it interesting to see how games are made, but I don't think it was actually that, like, not much came from it that was useful. We found out they were making GTA 6 and we're like, yep, we kind of already knew that. So, and then we see these final trailers and it's like, oh God, yeah, no, the game looks phenomenal. Whereas those work in progress shots are never going to be that representative. The lady with 2 hammers. I just love all of the like Europeans out there who see these clips of the news of the lady like holding 2 hammers and stuff, and they think that that's like, well, clearly that's just Rockstar making stuff up and being outrageous. It's like, nope, that is based on an actual news story of a lady that wielding 2 hammers in Florida. Like, it's Florida. that's real. That's a whole thing. So, yep. Did GTA 6 really have a $2 billion budget? It's complicated. It's a huge game. It probably will cost them like $1 billion to $1.5 billion, and then they're going to spend another $500 million to $1 billion on marketing. So it's a huge game. It's far and away going to be one of the most expensive games ever made. Certainly the most expensive game ever made before launch. It's crazy expensive, but they're going to make that back and do okay. But yeah, it's a huge game. Thousands and thousands of people have been working on for like 5-6 years, and that adds up pretty quickly. They probably have a lot of money invested in their online content as well. Yeah, well, I think what's still unknown is whether they're bringing GTA Online day one. I don't think they do. I think they launch the base game and then they bring the online mode out like a month later. And I think that's the way to do it. I don't think you try to launch it all at the same time, because just launching the single player is going to be huge, and then launching the online is going to be just part 2 of that. Everybody's going to be playing it and trying it. So I think they do need to take their time with it and not rush it, which is what they did with Red Dead 2. They took their time on it as well. So they're going to expect you to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars each. I mean, whether they expect you to or not, I'm not sure, but people are going to. Yeah. When this comes out, like, you've seen how crazy people are for like CSGO skins and stuff. And the only reason you buy a CSGO skin is for like the social status of it. People see you with that skin and like, that skin's worth $5,000. That's amazing. And it's like a social status thing within that community. Within this, I have no doubt they're going to have stuff that's kind of similar. They're going to have very rare, limited, like apartment buildings or car wraps and skins. And I just hope beyond hope that they have some way of managing the hackers, because GTA 5 is basically, GTA 5 Online rather, is basically unplayable on PC if you value your personal information. Like, they have the IP scrubbing, they have just so many exploits built in the game that they seemingly don't care about. But hopefully it just being on console levels that out a little bit, but that's not going to stop a lot of people that just jailbreak their PS5s and stuff. So all of this to say, GTA 6 is going to be sheer madness. It's going to be crazy. So I don't know precisely what it will look like, but I know it's going to be a lot. Yeah, the RP is going to be wild. Dude, every streamer on the planet is going to be trying to play it. For those big streamers like a Kai Cenat, for example, he's going to boot it up and he's going to be playing on a server. And just imagine what his lobbies are going to be like. It's going to be sheer chaos. Sheer chaos. People trying to get to him and it's going to be unplayable for so many people. It's going to be crazy.